doing phone calls and meetings up until.
Getting ready to push the button.
She just texted me 5 minutes ago saying she's gonna be a couple minutes late.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
Sorry.
Well,
Too slow. Oh, here it comes. I'll make it up twice.
Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock in Goddard, and we're going to start our budget workshop. Please join me in the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom that we have in our country, that we can work here tonight to set the budget in motion that'll continue to help our community grow and be a better community. Give us wisdom, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. Okay. We don't have a big agenda, it's just workshop time, so take it away.
Okay, so you guys have a lot of items at your desk, and I handed you some items at the council meeting that's going to need to be replacements. So I just wanted you to know, like, what you have at your desk is some replacements of some different documents. So the budget in brief for this section has been replaced, and it's at your desk. The water reserve section, or the water reserve section, has also been updated for some changes since we last printed, and also there was an error that Mayor Lee found, and I'm so glad he found it. So for the sewer utility reserve, so those are just some updates to your book. I just want you to make sure you have those in there as we're going through that. So to get started tonight, we're going to open with some open discussion items. So since the past couple of weeks, we've had a couple of things where we kept saying we'll bring this back to you at the next budget meeting and discuss. So I've got a list of items that we're going to kind of talk about. And then we'll go right into the public works, equipment, and vehicle requests. This is our annual schedule that we update every year. Then we'll talk about our water utility and water utility reserve fund, the sewer utility and sewer utility reserve fund, stormwater, special parks and recreation, and finally we'll conclude with tourism and promotion fund. We're on the downhill slide of these budgets. So, you know, budget meeting 3 of 4, and the 4th one's going to be pretty simple. We'll probably wrap up with capital improvement fund, equipment reserve fund, highlight the small funds that we have that has activity, really no budgeting per se in those. And then probably just some highlights, any changes, any other discussion, and we'll proceed from that. So let's start with our open discussion items. And so the very first item that I have on our list here is our library fence. So this is kind of a topic that we stopped with last. We talked about, I think, in our first meeting, and you know,
Good, I can turn it over to Jason.
okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you in your tracks, I was just pointing to him.
Okay. So we originally brought you an estimate of $20,000, but Jason's done some work behind the scenes, meeting with the library, and go ahead, Jason, take it away.
Sorry. So I met with Carrie after our discussion, and her and I come to the conclusion that as long as it's aesthetically pleasing, she's good with just about anything that we can come up with that has to have a minimum of 6 foot. She's really wanting to contain the children. She wants to make it where they can leave straight out of that south door into this protected layer. So the $6,000 estimate I came up with by doing some little research. I actually have to give Nick some credit on that because he helped me with that. We kind of looked at vinyl and wood. The $6,000 is a little conservative. It's putting that price point up a little bit higher to maybe have some contingencies and such in there. And also we discussed probably having city staff as well, as if Corey and Naomi's interested as well, having the Lions Club maybe help with that. You know, maybe having some of these community groups help with the erection of this fence. You know, the main point is, again, just make sure it's aesthetically pleasing, and with good durability. Craig had mentioned that, you know, maybe something along the vinyl line, maybe something a little better, because that is a little more sturdy material as well. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Good.
Any of you look at the library budget? What Craig sent out, give you comments in terms of, I think they had a fund available to do this type of project. I thought maybe it might be nice if they split it with us. They've got $373,000 in cash in the bank. They've got another 144 to spend for the second half of the year. That leaves them a little under $250,000 in cash they're sitting on. And so I thought it might be nice that since we turned around and gave them their mill increase plus $6,800, and maybe they at least participate when they have a cash account for doing improvements on the property. That's my only comment, and build the fence.
So I just want to disclose, Gary actually reached out to me after our last budget meeting, and just asked kind of for an overview on the general thoughts. I kind of summarized what we had chatted about just in the meeting here. And then I did speak with Craig as well. I think basically, and I don't want to say feels, but the impression that I got is that it just maybe came across them as we were not supporting the library. I think my only thought on it is, other than the posts, she had a couple of things that she said she wants to be able to see in so that like kids and stuff can't, you can see what's going on as transparency from the road. I think, you know, there was some concern about it being torn down and what that looked like financially if we built a new building in 5 years. But I think other than the post, correct me if I'm wrong, most of that material we can take off and can be reused. So it would just be the posts that we're kind of eating there, number one. Number two, I did kind of ask for a little clarification, and maybe this was just me, but I was a little unsure on what it meant to like also kind of rally with the community for funding. I think her intention was to get with clubs like the Lions Club or the Women's Club or other clubs to work together to put things inside of the fence area. Not necessarily to obtain funding to do more with the fence, but to furnish the area. My personal opinion is $6,000 is not a lot to choke on. I'm okay with the $6,000. My opinion would be that if we want this to be usable, we see if this is something we can start prepping in the fall for them, so that come spring, they're prepared to furnish it. I think if we wait until 2027 and we go to furnish it, you know, or we go to build it in the spring, they're not furnishing it until the summer and they're not getting as much use out of it even next year. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. 20,000 was a lot harder to choke than 6 for me.
What is the $300,000 that they have, what is that purposed for?
That was my question too. I was trying to find out if their budget's in here. I'd like to see it, like what.
I think some of it goes back to carrying a bit of reserve, and I know they were planning before we kind of got on board here with building a new building, so I don't think it's been money. It's probably a partial division between carryover as on their what they received from.
The library?
Yeah.
I don't have the
It
library
was in our
budget in
email.
here.
It was
Those
in
are
the
my
telephone
numbers.
folder.
I was going towards just what we've been sending them every year.
Oh,
Right, we were sending them 35 $100,000
Right,
a year,
so-
plus the mill levy increase.
Right.
So as that mill levy's been jumping up,
Right.
you know, so
There-
in the last 4 years, it's gone from like they've gone from a budget of around 220
Yeah.
to a little
I don't know,
over
I feel
300,000.
like it. Look at it.
So they're spending $25,000 a month. So they've got, and halfway through the year, they spent 144,000, so you figure the second half of your budget will be, if you said 150, so 370.
I think my one thing, and this is just my thoughts, so tell me your thoughts here, but Craig made a comment last time that kind of stuck with me, and so this is my thinking in us just approving the 6,000. Now, number one, we want the library to feel as though we're united, we're a team. I think that that's important, but I think when we go to build this new building, they seem pretty frugal in their funding. I mean, that's a pretty good number there. If they're spending that now, and yes, 3,000 even isn't as much, to me, the more they can save when this new building comes. Craig, number one, made the comment that it's a lot more comforting to know that there's cash to help sustain that building, because it's gonna cost more to run the building. But number two, I would assume that once they get into a new building, they're gonna wanna start furnishing different things and doing different things. And so I also, on the flip side, maybe have a little bit of hesitation that if we're having them spend that stuff now, this is not gonna be there when the new building comes. And I do think they've been very frugal.
Is that something that they're gonna have to spend money on to furnish it when we get it, or is that something that the city is then gonna, like, will it be part of the building?
Will that be part of the building process and the expenses like every other building that we are putting together?
It's hard to say, cause we're a few years away, we're kind of getting into that in-between point of short and long-range planning, this is kind of medium range, but I'm of the opinion that they should be able to self-sustain financially in a new building without us having to increase the mill levy or change the funding formula that we created last year regarding that additional $35,000 we've sent them. I mean, their ad valorem tax revenue has gone up by almost $100,000 just between 2024 and 2027. Their total revenue is similar scenario when you look at all of it together. So they're getting a lot of money and they're carrying a lot of cash. And so I would assume when you have a new building, obviously you're gonna have higher heating bill, higher electric bill. Commodities are gonna be greater. They may end up hiring 1 or 2 more staff people over time, but they are carrying so much revenue and building such a fund balance so quickly that I can't see why we would need to increase what we're spending because of the increased operational demands of a greater size facility bringing. So that's kind of why I made that comment when you and I were having that discussion. So yeah, it'd be nice to allow them to continue building that balance. That way, when the time does come, we're not having to make changes as a result of the new building coming online. But I also see the other side of the coin where they are carrying so much cash, like I think it would be okay for them to spend some of it when they have these smaller expenses come up that are maybe a want, not a need situation, so.
I mean, their budget shows 0 liability and $378,000 as a balance. Like right now, with 0 liabilities, I mean, there's things in their budget, but that's even after their budget. Of their budgeted expenses, there's like 0 debt and 0, like it's just after their budget, they have $370,000.
They're gonna spend this year, in the second half of the year, it's like they spent up to June 26th, 144,000. They're gonna spend that same 150,000 out of that money.
Out of the
This-
378,000.
For the second half of the year,
Which will leave them still with
200.
Well, their capital improvement fund is 122,000. And some change.
I think we're quibbling over small amounts in the grand scheme of things. My point just is I don't think we need to expect to be increasing mill levy for them to be able to maintain their operations when they're in a bigger building. If we continue to do like we have been, where they're getting basically an increase of 8 to 10% revenue per year, the expenses aren't going up at the same pace.
I mean,
And when we build that building, it's gonna be completely furnished as a part of the money we borrow to build it. So it's not like they're gonna have to use their own money to go buy the tables and chairs. We're gonna say, you get one shot at this, so
Yeah.
you need to buy everything you think you need.
But what
that was our
about,
question.
So that, yeah, so that wasn't like,
Yeah, I think that's what you were getting at.
is this money that they're saving back gonna go towards the new facility, or is that gonna be all, you know, because I think that if we've come to a conclusion of $6,000, it seems reasonable to me that they could do that. That the library fund at this point can do that.
Mhm.
And if the labor is gonna come from community groups, you know, that makes the most sense to me, instead of adding another $6,000 to the taxpayer.
And I think that's where the original concern comes from, is they already have a lot of money saved up, so why should we have to extend another 6,000? To answer the other question, they don't have to use any of that money on the new build. If the council says, hey, we want you to kick in some on the engagement or the design or something, that's your prerogative, but, you know, they would need to agree and comply with that. It's gonna be up to them. They're in charge of the money once they have it, it's theirs to do with it what they want. But if let's just say we're borrowing $10 million, and I'm not saying that's what it's gonna be, but all the furnishings that go into that, anything they wanna buy new, that's gonna come from the money we borrow, not the money that's sitting in their account, unless they self-solicit it to go towards the project.
Does that cover, I mean, I feel like this is petty, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, two parts. Number one, does that cover all of the decorations on the bookshelves and the stands?
Everything.
It will cover all of that?
Yes, they'll be told when we get to the point where we're a month or two from us thinking the project's completely done, whatever you think you need, make sure you get it, cause you got one shot at this. Once this temporary note closes and goes to permanent finance, you're on your own for whatever you wanna put in the building,
So it might just be a lack of communication on our part of letting them know that like, hey, you're not gonna have to save that money to furnish the library and do all the things that you wanna do, cause we're gonna, you know, that'll be part of the build.
I don't know that they think that they're gonna have to give that up toward the.
But that's what Amanda just said.
That's what I was trying to understand. She did not say that to me. I was trying to understand that, but my next question is, when talking to her, did she say anything about what she was furnishing inside of this, like what that cost for them was gonna look like?
It's at the fence now, cause it was like, this is it, right, in between groups, she's supposed to see about donations and seeing what they wanted to do, cause there were some things that correct me, got not familiar with what's existing there, but there were already some things like Boy Scouts and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
And that's what she's looking for.
The Goddard Women's Club has done things inside of there. I'm sure the Lions Club over time has done things inside of the library, but what are your thoughts, Cory?
I don't know. I'm a little curious, you mentioned the vinyl though. I think it lasts, but it also, the wind can have it on vinyl.
Recap on it, hail.
Yeah, hail on top holes.
You know, we looked at wood as well, I don't know, wood, option one go with, you know, it's kind of.
What about wrought iron? Or like
But they wanna be able to
board?
see through this?
From the road.
Yeah,
Well,
So you're talking
their
about
wrought
wood, it's
iron,
picket or something with gaps and stuff?
Would
Which
be.
is
their
better
wrought
for
iron bid was
wind.
$20,000.
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to understand. Okay.
Yeah. Composite decking, is that an option? Composite?
You have to support it much more often too, like bowling and stuff.
What if we ran the, not to sound like an idiot, you know what I'm talking about, the cord, as long as we put the slats close enough together, that you can see out of them, but kids can't. I mean, those don't really move, you know what I'm talking about?
We'll let Jason in the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah, I'm more
I think-
thinking if we're gonna,
Materials.
If we
Partner
just
up in
approve
the-
the 6, then he can.
Yeah.
the
whatever
city's piece of
happens.
allowing public works to help do it is already existing.
I'm gonna go forward with it.
So for them to pay for the material, seems like a kind of a fair trade. And even to the point where, depends on what we go with for material, what they select or whatever, if the public works could set all the posts and do the gates and then Neighbors United, Goddard Lions Club just runs the rails and pickets. I mean, that's something we could knock out on a Saturday morning pretty easily with the right amount of people, so.
I think they want it before Neighbors United, cause that's a year away.
Well,
It was only my
I mean, if this
suggestion,
is
didn't also
27 bucks,
use
it's
it next year.
till next year.
Okay.
I'm gonna say what's unsaid, I feel like this is less about the money, cause if it were just about the money, we'd already moved on from this, cause it's such a small amount. So, if you guys are okay with it, we can go back with her and say, if you guys are willing to give the material, we'll go and put it in and organize the communities to install it as a community. But if they really are hell bent on, excuse my French, on the city paying for it, to me, we're talking about $5,000 or $6,000. We've already probably talked about this for a half hour too long. We're talking about tonight in our last workshop. We got some really big stuff here that we're probably listening to.
It all
We'll work
adds
it out
up,
as
it
a
all
team.
adds up, and my intention isn't, I mean, I served as a library treasurer for several years, I'm not against the library. My grandkids are taking in there all the time, my wife's sometimes paying fines for books that we forget to take back, and I could pay for the fence itself.
With your fines?
That's kind of a joke, but I just think that if they're sitting on that size of cash balance, that they need to be sensitive to the situation we're in terms of trying to, the other things up here, the AV equipment, 20,000 covers, 35% of that, so, and where they do have that money, I just think it makes sense that we ask them to maybe, share, they've saved it, it's revenue from past years that's been accumulated. And that's fine, but it'd be nice that they would kind of help support some of that. And that's just my own issue with the thing. So,
We'll work it out.
we'll work to figure it out and move on to.
6,000. And if it makes them feel like they're supported.
I think maybe that's just where I'm coming from, it makes me feel supported, like, I know every penny counts, it's such a small amount that if it
But we've got
creates
other people that are always looking for money.
Yeah.
Too, so, that's all. So anyway, since we got that happy one out of the way, let's move on to.
Is it out of the way, or do we need to vote on it, or what do we need to do?
We don't need to vote.
Jason and I we'll work it out today. She's very reasonable and collaborative, so
Oh, okay.
we'll work it out.
So we talked about it for way too long. We don't have to vote on it. Okay, Robin, let's move on.
Alright, moving along here.
Okay, the next item, is the council room AV equipment and support. So this is something that you've heard a couple times now, that we've talked about redoing the audio visual in this room and possibly hiring out the actual management of the broadcasts for our council meetings and special meetings. So our quote, right now, for our 2026 is $55,606. It includes the equipment and 6 months of support in those dollars. That includes, approximately, I wanna say 4 meetings a month is what they've quoted for, but if we were to back into, that for a 6-month period, it ended up being about $233 a meeting, and 75 cents a meeting. So if we were to, that's gonna get us through the first 6 months, but I say after that initial 6 months, they'll probably reevaluate what we're actually using them for. So if we have additional meetings that they need to come to and be part of, I think we can expect to pay probably an additional $233 per meeting, with those updated quotes in there. So kind of the question is, is this something we wanna proceed with at all? Or do we wanna proceed with it in the 2026 budget? We do have room in the budget this year to do it if we wanted to get it going. Or is this something that we'd like to proceed with in 2027, and the cost at that point in time may be different and probably higher? The quote that we have is only good for 60 days, and we've been told that it would probably go up. So we just need some direction, yes, no,
How
now,
long,
later.
how long will it take to install the said equipment? Like how long does that process take?
He said that it would probably take a full week, and we kinda looked at our schedule, to do this setup, and we would probably schedule it after a Tuesday, council meeting, and then try to get it done that week after that, and then if we had to have them step out while something happened in the middle of that, for a meeting, we could, but he says typically it would take 1 week to get everything installed and up and running.
My understanding is this $233.75 per meeting, and covers an hour of a meeting, correct?
It's about 2.5 hours is actually the average, cause I looked at that just to make
Yeah.
sure, because we average more than
Right, that was mine.
hour, and some are shorter, some are longer, but average about 2.5 hours based on their quote was how that 233 worked out.
And that would just be, if we went beyond 2 hours, it would just be prorated, or it would be?
If we went beyond, I think for the first 6 months, we're locked in at that, so if we went more than that timeline, I think, he says that's a retainer to do it. I think the following 6 months we'll have an adjustment, probably to accommodate that change. If we want them to come and be part of the broadcast outside of the regular, they just need 48 hours of notice. So if we knew we were gonna have a comp plan meeting or something that's outside of what we plan for them to be here on a regular basis, we just have to let them know. They seem really accommodating with that, and if they're willing to be here, I think they're training up different people in different locations. You know, in the Derby area, they've got technicians that are doing this and so on, and he's got some out in the Goddard area that will be here to do that. So they're working through the logistics of their staffing.
One of the values I think of moving with it immediately is it will help add some capacity to Danny's role, because giving up 2 or 3 of your evenings a month on top of all the other outside normal hours work that's required of her because of her immense presence and some of the things you asked her to go to, it would be really nice to be able to give her some relief.
Just one concern I have is it's something that's gonna have a recurring cost. If they continuously increase it, like what capacity do we have to negotiate? Like, is it a year-to-year contract for the rate after the 6 months, or?
He just quoted a 6-month term. We haven't negotiated anything further than that. So what I was most concerned about when I was sitting in the meetings was, you know, he was saying, there'd be a switchboard back here, and when you're talking, push the button and it'll go to you, and the camera will go to you, and you gotta push the button. And I was sitting there thinking, I would never be able to accomplish this. It would be a disaster. Who's gonna run it? So if by chance you don't want somebody doing that, somebody would have to be trained to
Yeah, I get that. I
do
guess
such
the
a
other
thing.
piece though is like, is this equipment, we would own it, so if for some reason their costs increase, we could find a different operator, if
Yeah.
there is any, that would be
Yeah, we would own it.
against, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can learn that, we can teach someone how to run it.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we're not stuck in a contractual, like, timeshare scenario where,
I think that's my concern with it. It's not really paying for the equipment itself, but we've already heard you say, they've said several times, in 2027, this is gonna go up. After 60 days, this is gonna go up, and it's like, their business model, yeah, I'm sure it will go up, so it's $233.75 a meeting now, if we don't go over a meeting time, and if we don't have more than 4 meetings a month, but we often do. And that's a hefty amount of money to spend. I think that the idea is really cool. I think we need the projector behind us. I mean, I think we need some of the things, but like the painting, the camera does, I know we joke about it, but those are all like, they're just not things we have to have. So my 2-part question is, number 1, is this the only option? And number 2, is the city within the same support that if we go for this and we approve this, that next year we're not gonna be in the conundrum of talking about the fact that it's gone up, but you guys don't have the capacity to train somebody to do this, and we get stuck paying for it with increases. I think that would be my only hesitation, is I wanna make sure that we're on the same page, that if this goes up too high, we will have to train somebody to do this, right? Like, this is, at some point, we owe it to the community.
I think that would be the fiscally responsible thing to do. I mean, in terms of being able to man the equipment that we own.
The increases are gonna be on the equipment material. I don't think that we're gonna see a lot of inflation on the cost of the guy that's back there, or gal, pushing the buttons and moving the cameras around. I mean, if you guys wanna move forward with it, whether it's this year or next, we would program the dollars to operate it. I mean, I feel pretty strongly that we need to alleviate our staff person.
I agree, yeah.
So whether it's this or something else, we think this is the best. We've given you guys, I think, 4 examples of peer communities that are utilizing it. I think we are hearing from the citizens some pretty significant concerns about the quality of our transparency as it relates to this issue specifically. So what's it worth to you from a dollars and cents to alleviate those concerns from the community, and I think it's worth it.
Well, it's worth the price we're paying, I just worry about if it would be worth it if they keep increasing.
Is there is this a year, like the per meeting, person, is this a year by year contract with them, or a 6 month by 6 month contract with them?
I think it's, right now it's 6 months, that's all they've quoted us for.
For the next 6 months, but I'm saying going forward, will we enter into them, like a contract yearly?
Would you guys like us to ask if they'll do a longer term at the same price for the labor of the meeting, running the meetings?
Well, I just wanna know
Always
what we're gonna be
confirm.
doing with them contractually to run the equipment
Mhm.
year over year. Is
Well,
that,
let's-
am I making sense?
No, you are, and I think if we budget it, and in 6 months into a budget it changes, then we didn't properly budget, so.
Well, and I don't necessarily wanna enter into a 6-month agreement anyway, there's probably a good reason why they quoted it that way, maybe it's 'cause that's what's left in the year. But let us go back and ask a few more questions, we'll have another one of these fun workshops, and
Well, I have-
we'll answer some of these things.
I do have another question too, like, in a nonprofit that I was at, whenever they had a system and it was new a year or two ago, I think it was 2 years ago, and it had, kind of the same thing where it would move with the person that was talking, but it was done automatically by voice. And so like when the microphone would gauge, it automatically went to that person and they didn't need a person
Could we pay more
to sit and
upfront,
do it.
so-
So I guess my question is, did we explore any other options of what might be able, like, cause you said that and it kinda triggered my mind, of like, did we only get one option?
So
And
we-
that's all we did?
We've been looking at options for the last 3 years because the system has been such a conundrum. And when Ryan started looking into this, for what we were requesting, this was the only firm in the area that could meet that request. And that's why you see the other cities are all using the same one. So if you know of another company that we didn't find, we'd be glad to inquire with them. I think that having them here to manually run it is from a troubleshooting perspective as well. I do think that their system can do what you're talking about, but having them here gives the option for it to be ran manually in case that's not programmed or working correctly, so. But we'd be glad to, I'm recording this and I'll get all your questions, we'd be glad to approach the firm and bring you back some more answers at the next council meeting if you're not comfortable with it where it's at right now, that's not a problem at all.
I think it'd be nice if we would negotiate instead of 6 months, 18 months
Okay.
on
On the meetings.
the meetings. That'll give us a year and a half at a fixed cost. And I think if all things being equal, if we could get that, I would be in favor. If we've got the money now to go ahead and do this, you know, I mean, what do you guys think? Cause it is.
It's
I
not
mean,
the upfront cost, it's just that meeting.
Sure,
cost.
but I think that, but if we can eliminate the, issues with, we start the meeting and then it actually goes live streaming, when we're into the.
So frustrating.
Agenda or, you know, approving the agenda stuff, there's just, there's gaps, it's never always the same, so. I think that, I don't know how old that equipment is, but I think there's been a lot of changes in technology since it really improved it, so.
And with
I
the
also-
chance, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say with the price increase that we're being told, the equipment's probably the most
Expensive.
likely to go up in 2027. So I mean, if we went ahead and got the equipment ordered and, you know, put in place, then we can always negotiate maybe that second piece later too. I mean, we can get it, but
Yeah, I wanna try to lock it down for at least 18, maybe not 24 months.
When's your 60 days up?
Won't be too long, maybe another 3 or 4 weeks.
I know there's a lot of technological advances with regard to like letting, you know, computers do the work, but I also really like the idea of having a person here that, you know, in case of troubleshooting, that kind of stuff, somebody who's a human being that can really know how to operate it, cause I do use, you know, some technology, but I really prefer talking to a person, so, I mean, I still think that's valuable, so if someone can run the meeting or in this capacity, I just think if we can kind of lock down contractually what the expectation is over the next 18 to 24 months, you know, what that looks like for us.
I think my only two-part is just one. I know we talked about this, they have people, but with them picking up a lot more cities, it sounds like, can they confirm, like, if somebody calls in sick, like, they will have somebody here to do that? If not, we're gonna have someone trained as a backup, I would assume, right?
I'm not gonna spend time training any staff on how to do this if we're paying those fees.
Yeah.
They're gonna figure out a way to get some.
Okay, because my next question is if they don't show up, I just wanna make sure that it's written
They
in there,
have a
like,
backup.
if they don't, that's credited to us for another meeting, or that's,
Well,
you know, whatever that
we'll
looks
talk
like.
with them about
Just
that.
little things, but,
They also, like, different cities meet at different times, some groups are meeting on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
some are during the day, so, we'll work that out, and as far as the meeting count, I felt like Brooke was conservative, while these last 2 months, it's felt like we met a lot, usually we only meet 3 times, so, she's got us in for like, what, 4.3 or something meetings a month.
But learning committees.
so maybe a couple times we have to pay
Yes.
extra, but it's really not much, yeah. Okay,
Good point.
I mean, I'm okay with it,
Okay.
I just wanna know that we can lock in a price. I mean, if they come back and like, no, it'll probably go up in January, it's like, are we looking at $15 or?
And we're okay with now, because I think this year is better, but that's just.
Well, if we get this year's pricing,
Yeah.
that's where we'll.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back as an item of, how about we use the unfinished business section on the
Mhm.
agenda? And we'll get we'll try to get a contract of at least 18 months, if they'll do 24, we'll do that.
Can we-
And bring some of the other answers back to the questions you asked as well. Is there any other questions?
Well, I was just gonna say, can we go ahead and authorize you to do that right now?
Yeah, I mean, do we lock in the price,
Yeah.
I'm good with
Or do we
this.
have to make it another unfinished business?
If you could say at 250, I mean, that's me, if you could say 250 or less, like, and lock, you figure it out, I mean, we trust the fact that you know the budget, so.
Well, how are you deriving the per meeting cost? Does it break out the equipment from the 6 months of support on the bid?
Yes,
Okay, so you break out equipment.
yes, yeah.
Alright.
If I can't get them to do at least 18 months on the running the meetings, then we'll bring it back as unfinished business.
Okay.
I think we can just do it.
You guys
We're
okay
good
with
with
that?
that.
Good.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye. We're on the record of agreeing, so. It's not a formal motion.
Okay.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right, next exciting idea we have to talk about is our governing body salaries, so.
We're putting all the hard stuff on the.
Yeah. Well, these are things we needed to bring back and discuss, so, during this week, you all have received some comparisons on, different council pay with our respective cities around us, and so, I put together just a little bit of a summary, some recommendations, these are just Brooke's recommendations, but you all get to make the final decision on this stuff. So, kind of what I did was, I kind of put all of the information together, kind of did some thinking about our current processes, and so, we did, a comparison amongst our comparable communities for Andover, Bel Air, Derby, Hayesville, Mays, Park City, and Valley Center. And one of the things that was kind of interesting was the majority of them are not, attendance based. It's, what?
This is someone was like, ooh.
What?
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh,
so-
that's not.
Attendance is not required.
Right, so I mean, it's just a basic
Well, that's not what it
stipend.
said, was it? I thought it
A few
said
of them
not
did.
attendance-based.
There's a few, like, no, there's one that specifically said it's sorry, keep going.
This is bad, okay.
Sorry.
It's gonna be a long night.
Okay, are you laughing at me, or?
No,
No,
I'm laughing at
no.
them. There was one that specifically said, attendance based. Oh, yeah, Hayesville, regardless of attendance.
Well,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
that doesn't mean attendance not required, that means regardless of, like, how many events you attend.
They're
Right.
not paid by the meeting, they get paid a fee per
But
month.
that does mean,
No, that means like,
if I call in sick to this meeting, I'm still getting paid for it.
Yeah.
well, true,
The thought is
but,
you still took the time to prepare for it and do the agenda review.
or if you come to 5 extra meetings a month and you're there,
That's
Right,
the, yeah.
sure,
I see what you're saying.
regardless
It's
of how
salary.
many you
It helps
attend.
us budget too, knowing a flat amount, because
Yeah.
sometimes we have extra meetings.
Okay,
Probably not.
so I tried to come up with what I could envision a yearly amount
Sure,
of.
sausage man.
The yearly amount of potential meetings that we have, and my back sheet on the back side shows monthly meetings, we have 3, so that would be 36. Average special meetings, I added 5 in there for, you never know if there's a school board, tri-county, tri-gov meeting, you know, those types of things. Budget workshops, this year we're having 4. Annual retreat and orientation, that usually takes a couple of days. So, and I put in an other in there for buffer, because, you know, just never, you know me, I always throw contingency in there, just to be on the safe side. So that averages out about 4.33 meetings per month, okay? So, with that being said, if we start going over into, the second page of this, I kinda tried to pick not the highest Andover and I tried to see the cities that were paying more than us, but, and not the ones that were paying less than us, and kind of tried to figure that out. Andover's kind of a, you know, they're a different city, they got a different population. I think Craig said they've got 9 council members. I mean, they kind of got, they're way up there, they're just way different than us, I kind of felt like. Mays was closer to us, and they were, their mayor gets paid more, but the council gets paid less. So, tried to put, kind of bring it together and kind of come in between some of those numbers. So then I kind of came up with a dollar amount that I kind of felt comfortable in the budget, and I had originally kind of planned, well, after we talked, I'm just gonna increase it by 5,000 and see where we land, and we can adjust it from that. So as I run these numbers, if we were to increase the monthly compensation, and keep in mind, I have chosen this to be not attendance based. So you would get this monthly as a stipend. It doesn't matter how many meetings you have. It will not be it wouldn't be per meeting. This would be per month, per compensation. So the mayor's compensation would go up from $633 on average to about $900 a month, making the annual compensation $10,800. We have to factor in our payroll taxes, so the annual cost for the mayor's compensation could be $11,626. That's an increase of about $3,400 a year. Council member compensation, not going up quite as much, but we have to remember there's more of you, so we have to try to average it all out. So going up from $633 on average per month up to $700. Annual compensation about $8,400. So if we were to put that all together, that's an additional, about another $3,400 for council pay, going up as well. So if we added that together, the total budget impact would be about almost $7,000, which I'm comfortable with. I was just trying to come up with something different. So this would propose an additional approximately 16.8% increase over last year's budget on average numbers. So again, this is a stab at it. You all get to decide what you would like to see compensation to be. Like I said, we've looked at the comps, we've tried to kind of come in between. We kind of picked a dollar amount that seemed reasonable for our budget and kind of worked back into the numbers through that. So I'll turn it over to you guys for discussion and direction.
I mean, I have a question before I have a follow-up. Technically, the $633.33 isn't what we're getting each month if we're only doing our 3 meetings though, right? Isn't it a 200 base right now and then it's $100 a meeting?
Yes, but there's other times that you're gonna make more. So,
Well, like this month we have, I don't even know how many extra meetings.
right, so this is an average. This isn't, I mean, you can't say this is what I'm
That's what I
doing.
just wanna make sure I'm
Yeah.
understanding. So we are kind of seeing an increase, a little more it feels like than this because we're
Like it's
usually,
leveling it out.
yeah.
Like, instead of it going like this, it's like this.
It'll be early to payroll too, cause it's tough to kind of track.
Everybody's.
Is it kind of like schools? You know, teacher salaries are spread out through the entire year and in through the summer. Like they're gonna still receive a paycheck through the summers because they're paid monthly. right? Is that
Yeah.
what it is?
It'd be every
essentially?
month, that's what you get.
So-
Instead of Sarah having to determine who came to which meetings, and you get 200 and you get 300, every month you get the same thing.
Same amount every time.
Yeah, that's like
Kinda
the
like
school
equal
system.
pay, like
That's
some
like
people
the
set up for their
school system
utility
is.
billing.
And it's easy, and,
So we're essentially per person getting like an $800 increase would be what that would be a year. Anyway,
Yeah, it's usually,
Or all of us combined,
well,
Yeah.
then there's a line too.
not like a person.
No, it is.
no, it is,
Look at
every
this.
person is,
Council
every
member
council member would get
compensation.
800.
Well, based off the average.
Right.
I would suggest that the recommended increase for the council members be set at 50, which
That was
would be,
gonna be my next one I was gonna do, but.
which would make that an increase of a little over, it would be $117, $120 an hour. That would total an additional $2,400. I just think for the time that we all put in, that's, I mean, it's not a gigantic increase to ask that as council members get an extra $100 a month when you're only getting $633 to begin with, so. I don't think any of us are doing this for the money, but I know we have had a few members of our community say that we should probably compensate them a little more reasonably, so. I don't think this is something that we'll do every year, but, it's probably been a while since this has been adjusted, but.
Yeah, I don't have the history on that, I don't know.
It's been a while, obviously not since, not at least in 3 years, but I'll say you guys do a lot more probably than your peers, and a lot of that's because of me. You get a lot of emails and phone calls and asked to go to meetings, I mean,
But it's
we're
not-
ambitious, we wanna work,
And-
so we're dragging you into our mess and you're
But I also
having to
think
do
it's
extra.
because of us, because
Agreed.
we live here, we work here,
We wanna see the
we care
change,
about
yes.
here.
Mhm.
And yes, we have a driver, if you will, an administrator that is, ambitious and wants our community to grow, so I just think, I really don't think any of us is doing this for the money.
And I didn't mean to sound self-serving, I'm just saying I
No.
ask a lot of you guys as far as coming to meetings and being on the phone and
Yeah.
those things.
I think it's that, like, awkward elephant in the room, right? Like, nobody wants to ask for it. I mean, I appreciate that you did. I think I just on record want to note, like, there are a lot of meetings that I think people don't see that we do attend, and a lot of time that we do put into this that is unpaid. Again, because I don't think we're doing it for the money, but, I appreciate the fact that it's valued and it's a conversation to be compensated for it.
Do you think this is enough for the mayor? Could you do it?
You do a ton.
I'm fine with that. What am I gonna do anyway, play golf? I can still get those golf rounds in, so. No, I think it's reasonable. I mean, I go to a couple extra meetings in a month,
Karen wants to make a comment.
so.
Can I vote?
Sure.
Does that make you feel better?
You're here at every meeting, so
Yeah.
you get a vote.
Yeah.
I really think you all deserve it because I see how much you care about Goddard and how well you work with the staff. So yes, give yourself a raise.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
No, we really appreciate hearing that.
I think I like the, flat rate approach too, just because,
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, it's a lot for even just payroll to keep up with, how many meetings were there? Oh, did we ask for this, does this qualify as an extra meeting?
Were they there?
Yeah, so there's a lot of overhead with that,
Well, I think that was, I think it's just easy to not have to ask those questions. I asked you the other day, some of like the City Say workshops or meetings, and ours doesn't sound like, are we getting paid for these budget workshops, or are we, just questions like that. I think if you make it just this is what you're getting paid,
Clears that up.
you just know, yeah.
And I mentioned this the other night, but it attracts qualified people that we want leading in our community if there is a good compensation for it.
You said that you were gonna go up to $750 for the council members, did you have a higher number for the mayor? And I am asking specifically because he is in a lot of places doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And while this might be fine for him, I know where he goes and what he he does.
Well,
And
I
not-
didn't run the numbers for 750, but in my mind, I kind of thought, because I was trying to get you guys just a little bit more of a bump, because he did get that bump too. And I thought, well, I'm just gonna leave it where it is, but I think 750 would be reasonable as well. So, I mean, if that's,
No, his is 9.
no, his is 9.
Right. So that's what I'm asking for him.
Is there a
Because
bigger
he
number
did
for
more.
him?
Yeah.
Or
Did
How many
you-
meetings do you attend in a month?
Did you
or-
come up with a higher number?
I know you don't wanna answer that, but I really wanna know.
I didn't. Because it
And
kind of,
executive committee was read today,
it bumped it up.
Waco,
Because, okay. I know, but I just,
an
I'm not
executive meeting,
answering.
regular meeting, 3 to 4.
He's currently making the same as us.
He's
currently making the same as us.
3 to 4 meetings that he's not getting paid for, and
Yeah, $50 on everything.
solely based off his effort.
I
we are
think he's
seeing
setting a
money
standard for
from
what we expect from there.
Yes.
Yeah, he
But-
is setting a
Like,
standard.
this is not just our pay, this is.
This is who's coming next, right?
Right.
But that's why we wanna make sure it's fair. We want, whenever you decide you're done, we want whoever is next in the seat to be showing up
I
at
don't, I
these
don't think,
meetings.
I think I have to voting public.
No.
Bring that to.
But also-
conclusion.
But
No, I know what you're.
we want you to show up at these
No,
meetings
no,
and
I
get more
appreciate that.
funding,
No,
and we
I
want
do,
these
I
things
do.
coming back, so I just.
Yep.
We're gonna get
Yeah, that's you guys, yep.
100%, so I wanna make sure that that's a
If
fair.
we're
Maybe it's
not,
750,
no.
950, are you guys fine with that or not?
I'm good with 950 because we re-elect the mayor every year, right? So
Right.
if-
Every
2 years.
Or every 2 years, excuse me.
Right.
So the mayor is not holding up, the future mayor is not holding up his.
We change it.
Yeah, we vote somebody else and the council would vote somebody else.
750, 950? All 50s, all 50s?
950 and 750 is what we're settled at.
I didn't mean to sound
I don't think
creepy.
we're
I
really-
just know that there's a lot of places you go, and we don't, we don't know all of them, but there are a lot. And I think that we're in a, I'm gonna just say this for the record, I think that we're in a better position in the city because of the relationships that you have been able to build alongside Craig and, in other areas of our community surrounding, Wichita, Topeka, just the connections that you've made. And
1000%.
I think, that has helped our city.
I also can't get an attorney that's my average, so there's that.
Yeah, cause you're driving all over the place
Right.
all the time.
So I've been told.
And you
I-
mow
I do
the,
have-
and you mow the garden for us.
I do have a drive too, sometimes the royal driving, so. Drive that Prius, I'm getting good gas mileage.
All right.
Okay, so we're good.
We're good. You ready to move on? Okay. Next item, and these things are easy. Pool filter system. This was something that got omitted last time around when I didn't have it in the general fund, so we needed to bring that to you, and I think Craig sent an email out just letting you know that this is coming. I added this to the capital improvement fund budget, and I didn't include it in the transfers from the general fund out, because I didn't want to mess up my spreadsheet. So we've got money sitting in the capital improvement fund to cover that. So you'll see that when we present that at the next budget meeting. So I'm just letting you know where that is.
Are we pretty close to the 60, is it 60 or?
That's what I've been told by Alan. Alan's got the figures for that. He's from the 60s.
The pool guy says it's 60.
Okay.
I went ahead and added in the high school scholarship fund, the $1,000 to the general fund budget, and added in some city pool chairs for $5,000 to the budget. I saw a comment, come across.
Several of them.
Not that we've,
Not that we're on Facebook or anything.
not that we're on Facebook or anything, but I said, we can buy some pool chairs, don't
So
you think?
what was the cool stuff that was already in the budget?
That was chairs, the guard chairs.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
that's.
this is actual chairs for the citizens.
Okay.
And these things wear out fast.
Yeah,
They're like $800 each.
Oh, I was just getting ready to ask if that was like a legitimate number, and the only reason I'm asking is because I think there's some new rules to the pool this year. So, not to add to this, but if there's anything left over, if we are not allowing citizens anymore bringing their pools and stuff, can we provide some more things? Can we,
Sure.
if there's anything left?
Pool noodles, yes, we can go buy some.
I just, when you try to take them in, they tell you you can't have them anymore, but,
Yeah.
you know.
You can't bring your own,
Mhm.
but they,
That's what somebody was told recently.
We'll let Jason work through that.
This is like, tell them to take them again.
What are they considering noodle?
I'll bring one and I'll show you next meeting. We've always got 10 of them, new ones we haven't used yet this year, because they're not the pool yet. So from here I can get a good shot in, so I'll do that.
Mayor, I might have acted out of my lane a little bit
No,
earlier
you're
when
fine.
we were talking about the library discussion. If that's something that you guys want to vote on, that's your prerogative. I didn't mean to push us along. We were just at the 25-minute mark
We
on
got
the
stuck.
first thing, so.
I think we're good at $6,000.
We're gonna leave 6,000 in there?
No, you guys handle it.
Okay.
Just, you guys handle it. Enough said.
Okay. All
We'll
right.
Work it out. Whatever you do, work it out.
Okay, moving on to Public Works. Public Works equipment and vehicle request. So in your packet here, you will see, first up, we will talk about our equipment needs. So just so you know, Jason does a lot of work with his staff, and then he gets with me, and then we talk about the schedule, and we update it and move things around, take things off, and kind of reestablish needs every year, kind of like the 10-year CIP. We've reviewed options for leasing versus purchasing, and if we have the option to lease, in my opinion, for a cheaper cost to have newer equipment, with less breaking down, it really helps with the cash flow. So, you know, our staff can have the equipment they need that isn't breaking down, and we can fund these things through the leasing options. So you'll see leasing options on here. If there's reason just to purchase it, you know, a smaller dollar item, obviously we would look into purchasing those. This is a living document, it changes all the time. I think even today in our staff meeting, Jason was like, I think I'm gonna change, we might look at some different options on this, so please chime in when you want to. Just when we start talking about the trucks, I believe we've already got some different ideas than my spreadsheet says, and I said, I already have it ready for tonight, so I don't, what are we supposed to? See, that's how fast everything changes and why you have new documents in here. So, equipment we have some leases already in progress right now. The mini excavator, the skid steer, the wheel loader, we entered into lease agreements last year in 2025 for those. So this is basically the schedule for those and the lease option purchased at the end of that term. Probably, I'm guessing, at the end of those terms, we either buy it or continue leasing. We make that decision, you know, in 2030 or so. In 2026, we have already purchased a dump truck, which was on our schedule, so you can see that happening, and we don't really have any more planned purchases in 26. In 2027, we are looking at doing a lease for a hydro combination truck and purchasing a plow attachment. So those are the two items that we kind of looked at. Jason, do you want to talk about this hydro combination truck, just to kind of let them know what that is?
Yeah, so the combination truck, I'm sure, is the sewer truck essentially. So we'll be able to do hydroactivation as well as our own sewer lines. There was a little bit of a name back up here this past weekend. It would be great to have one at that point in time. So we watched it. Everything worked out okay, but we had to make emergency calls out to mayor, which would have been a huge cost to us. So if we had this, we could have actually just cleaned it ourselves and just been done staff and separate days to make sure there's no issues. It's be a huge benefit to us because then we can also manage our same cost of the mayor in our lines and reducing some cost of those contracts, where as our staff grows, we're able to start making some benefits in that and having a more regular schedule. And then, like I said, those emergency situations, we'll have the capability to take care of ourselves.
We can safely pothole utilities too. It's like you gotta call before you dig. If you have one of these, the water pressure will blow a hole in the ground without harming the utility. So you can see the gas line, communication, power, all of that, allowing us to get to work right away. You can locate all of them, we can direct to work, they can dig signs with them, they can pressure wash stuff, they can do so many different things, clean out storm sewer, you can put a head on the thing that'll go in and chop up all the things inside the stormwater system.
So saving that, does it replace the liability of not getting a loan locate done first? Like, you can do your own locates and mark everything, or how's that?
No, you still call for locates, it just allows us to work faster.
Okay. Like if there's an emergency?
Yeah, if there's an emergency, emergency locates, you still have to wait at least 2 hours, and that's the minimum, so you still have to wait longer, so if there's an emergency situation, we
Yeah,
have to
it is.
estimate.
Which we see happen
all the time.
all the time.
Well, even if you plug your locates in, we still wanna visually see the utility to make sure it's actually under the flag and the paint's in the right place. So they'll go blow that little plate-sized hole in there, put a stake and some orange fence around, so we know for sure that's where that gas line is, not just relying on the yellow paint and flag.
Especially, yes, especially if all the fire roads around too, fire roads are huge issue, so.
When you have, big water leaks,
Knock on wood.
this can replace or supplement your big trash can sized pumps that are sucking out thousands of gallons out of a hole. This will do that as well, so it's a huge tool to have, most departments really want one. Once you get to be in our side of the grade out, we have one in Little Sterling.
Is that right next to Sterling?
Yes.
Sterling
Just a
Junior.
general comment. Previous to this group kind of being on the council, this type of documentation and forward-looking wasn't part of the process. I think everybody kind of had it in their minds, but for us to be able to have it documented and to be able to discuss it, it allows for, you know, flexibility if things change next year in Topeka, then we know what we've got planned and we can adjust it, and I just think this whole process, just another check mark in terms of the detail that we're receiving is, really good, so I just wanna thank you guys for all the effort, cause it takes time to do this.
We can look at 2028, but again, these kind of shift around based on needs, and these are just some high level ideas going past next year, so, I'm not gonna spend too much time on those, cause that's likely to change at this point, so. Moving on to the Public Works vehicles, replacement plan, one of the things, I'm gonna skip ahead and then come back to this. We went ahead and increased, the 2027 trucks up to $50,000. When you all saw the budget for the Special Streets and Highway Fund, that fund takes a component of that, and I had 40 there, so that will affect the special highway and street budget, and I went in to make sure that the fund balance reserve still was okay, and with that change in there divided three ways, it wasn't that big a deal. So that was a change that happened to something that we've already seen. But moving forward here in 2026, we are purchasing a half-ton truck, and we're looking at probably increasing that.
It's been a struggle to get something for 40,000. So 40,000, that's why we decided in 2027 to increase that to 50. New, you're looking at, we will get prices of 45 used, we're looking at 42, and that usually has like 20,000 miles on it. So we're already behind the curve once you start getting out to one trucks, so.
So we increased those a little bit, and like Jason says, we may have to spend a little bit more money in 26, but I'm not concerned with that. I think we have enough leeway in our budgets to absorb that cost.
Does that eliminate all the red trucks?
They're all gone.
They're all gone.
They're gone
Yes.
now.
I think we got them gone.
No, I took care of the last one.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Doing this and being able to look ahead, are you working with like a fleet rep somewhere to get fleet pricing?
I'm gonna work with local dealerships and any other dealerships outside the area that would be willing to work with us to get the best price. I think you guys had one time looked at numbers.
So, there's a couple things with that. Fleet is not like it was for pickups, not like it is for heavy machinery. They don't do it like they used to, and government pricing is out the window, they got rid of that
Right.
at the turn of COVID. There is a company, Enterprise, that everyone knows, that will do a lease program similar to what we're doing with our heavy equipment, but the math doesn't work for us with where we're at in our current program.
I don't think I'm asking about leasing, and I think government's different, but it sounds like they don't do government pricing. We have we use Ford Fleet, we have a dedicated sales rep at a Ford dealership. We buy all of our trucks through him, so as an example, Chad's new truck, we paid like an XL pricing, but because we ordered it ahead of time, we got it built, we got all of the specs we needed on it for the same price. So I just wondered, like, if you work with a sales rep, can you, number one, customize that in ways that may benefit you better, especially with like the F-350, or get a better deal, lower interest, something?
We check into it, all the reps that we've been dealing with, I can call back to Rick and to Marmies and talk to them who used to working with us, in government, and even he gave me as many discounts as he could, knowing that's from this
And then they're
project.
still-
And it was
they're just
still,
so
it was a
expensive.
2025 with 20,000 miles on it, that was still 42,000.
When these are all base, we get like, you're rolling up your window with a wheel, and we just put a headache rack and a toolbox in and we go.
Yeah.
Except for the.
We try to get one truck, yeah, we try to get one truck,
We're getting the cheapest entry level package.
But since you brought up the F-350, that's something that we're looking at. We're trying to decide if we really need it. We're thinking about moving that down to a 250 and doing it with a utility bed. That's the sewer truck currently, and it has a crane on it. And we are maybe wanting to get away from that crane on the truck because it is such a hard, item for the truck to have to deal with. You have to upsize the springs on that side of the truck and things of that nature. And just so happens the truck, which actually we have a Ford F-350, it's the Chevy that we're gonna replace, because the Chevy's, the GM's giving us some big problems as it is. Matter of fact, it's down right now, it's just sitting on our lot at the moment, being worked on, so, we're maybe thinking about moving that down to a 3/4 ton, and doing it with utility bed, and then with the crane, so that should bring that cost down.
The crane uses the lift stations, but we're talking about making developers put a crane in out of the site, which isn't that uncommon. The trucks that don't say replace, those are adds to the fleet, so we haven't been adding trucks as we've been adding employees, so we're starting to, you see 3 guys sitting.
We have about 2 trucks out of commission right now, so it's really putting us in there.
So we're doing a lot of carpooling, but we got that first one this year is a net new, and then 2 of next year's are net new ones to replace. We don't need a truck per guy, it's not like police, but also we can't have 2 or 3 people riding in them all over town either.
Perceptions, judgments.
We'll put them in, they can drive this, it's some of the heavy equipment and the dump truck and stuff they can drive, but we don't wanna necessarily be, if those things we're leasing, you pay a penalty when you go over the hours at the end of the lease, so we don't wanna necessarily be driving those all over town too.
Okay, so in summary, if we put these together, in 2026, our total program costs are about $141,000. We divide this 3 ways to the water fund, sewer fund, and street fund, and that's how it computes out. So in 2027, our total program cost is about $315,000, allocated about $105,000 per fund. So again, like I said, the cash flow wise, the leasing really helps that out with that larger equipment purchase. 2028, it's gonna go up quite a bit, but then in 2029, I mean, if we're staying true to our schedule, it goes back down. So, you know, our 5-year total, is about $1.5 million worth of equipment per time. Any questions on that? Alright, so water utility fund, make sure you switch out your slides. Yours have been switched, Craig, I did yours already. We'll go into the water utility fund. This is our little shining star. You know, the water fund was struggling for so long, right? When I came on board, and there was a lot of issues with its fund balance and its revenues, and I think you guys had a water rate increase, I think, right? I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but, we did, right? A lot of controversy over all that stuff, but we're starting to see the fruits of our labor now that we're about, I don't know, a year and a half, almost 2 years into that fix, and we're starting to see some real turnaround. Our reserves are looking a lot better. Being able to transfer more into our water reserve fund, because we know we've got some big water costs coming. So a lot of things are looking a lot better. If we start looking at all the different revenue lines that we have here, I'm not gonna go into the sales tax collected, cause that just gets paid right back out. This fund earns its interest based on its fund balance, and since the fund balance is growing, it continuously gets a little bit more of our interest income. Our connection fees, I wanna talk about connection fees, water sales inside and outside. Those are computed at a 5% growth. So as you recall, every July, our water rates increase by 2%. That's our 2% rider. So we have revenue coming in from that, in addition to our 3 to 5% growth that we have, just with utility customers and accounts. Tap fees, that is one that's dragging us down a bit. Those costs, or those revenues are down just due to building permits being lower. So I had to budget really conservatively with this one. Mr. Mayor, did you figure out where you're at? I
Yeah.
didn't want you to get lost.
I'm right before the ask, I'm good, you're
Okay.
fine, I'm
Well,
tracking.
I gave you so many papers, it's my
No
fault.
problem.
So, like I said, the tap fees, I have to budget really conservatively, just, hopefully they come in better than that. I mean, last year they came in better, but, you know, just kind of estimating, I think right now we're sitting at about 75,000, it's 6 months in. I can't just pretend that I hope that it's gonna be there at the end of the year, so I work really conservatively there. So when you see, just a 3.91% increase in our revenue and not a 5% like you would expect, that's because the tap fees struck us down, from that. Next year, in 2027, I budgeted for a 5% growth, again, tap fees conservatively, and just a little bit more interest to get us closer to 5.78, or 4.78% for revenue. So if we start talking about our expense categories, salary, we have these categories. We have our personnel, our water distribution and operations, our water collection and transmission operations, and our water treatment and processing operations. I do want to mention, as we're recreating our chart of accounts in Tyler Tech, this is going to look a lot different in the future. This situation requires a lot of coding on our staff's behalf. I mean, it could be like a $5 tool purchase, and it has to be divided like 7 different ways based on just I'm not kidding you, it's ridiculous. So you're gonna see some different presentations when we get our Tyler implemented, but I won't go off onto that right now. So our personnel includes an allocation of 1 new employee, like we mentioned, that we're hiring. And it also has just a reallocation and truing up of different salaries and positions. Water distribution, this grouping houses our legal costs, which have been going up just a bit because of our, all of our water rights, our legal fees that we've actually been paying for those out of pocket, not really putting them towards the temp note, which we may at some point do that. A reallocation of insurance, as well, like I mentioned in the general fund, we reallocated everything based on number of employees and GFOA best practices, so there's a reallocation of that. Also with software, and this water distribution operation includes that $105,000 of capital equipment allocation as well that we just talked about. So those are the things that kind of encompass that one. Water collection and transmission and operations. This houses basically our utilities, which I estimated a 5% increase in all of those items. Well maintenance contracts for $25,000, water tower maintenance contracts for $25,000, and a $50,000 emergency line item. So those are some of the bigger ticket items there. Water treatment and processing operations, this increased just a bit for chemicals that staff said probably need to be increased up from, I think, about $15,000 to about $20,000 in 2027. One of the things that's really cool, in my opinion, is the transfers this year. This is something that I predicted last year and was hoping that it works out. We are increasing our transfers this year to the water reserve from 125,000 up to 300,000. So we are truly making headway, having enough room in our operations to get it out of there and get it into reserves to cover large capital costs of the water utility. So like I mentioned, when we start building up these fund balances from our revenue growth, our rate increases that continuously, help with that rider that we have to cover these costs, we're able to accumulate that cash, because that cash is gonna come in really handy, when we get ready to either pay off debt, some of our temp notes, we have options there, or do other projects that we have on our 10-year CIP. Also, I should also mention, other transfers that we have, and we'll talk about this again in another slide. We transferred to the bonded interest fund about $200,000, transferred to the $25,000 to the equipment reserve, again, like I said, $300,000 to the water reserve fund. So that's why that is ticked up, so high at the transfers, is because we're transferring out of operations into reserves. Don't think we've been able to do that really. I mean, we would do that 125 and boy, that would be right on the wire. So, and we kind of projected slowly but surely we would get there, and we're getting there, and I'm hoping, and you'll see in some slides, next year I can do more is what I'm hoping for. So, water utility performance, everything's looking really good. These negative numbers down here in the budget column, the operating margin, I'm not concerned about that because that incorporates our large transfer. So we're starting to transfer dollars out of there, which brings that down. So starting with the top line, our total revenue that we got projected for 2027 to $2 million, total expenses to $2,081,000, leaves us about $53,600. So if we were to add back the $300,000 that we were transferring out of the fund, you would have a positive net income there. So I mean that we're just shifting dollars around and moving that out of there. When I'm choosing the amount of transfers out of there, I'm always looking at that 25%. Where are we landing in our reserve fund? And we're way above that yet. Next year I'll probably try to bring it down just a little bit more and transfer more over there. But slowly but surely before I feel I don't want to do it all in 1 year, Revenue growth, like I said earlier, got it projected at about 4.78%. I want to mention too, you guys will see the second quarter financial report at the next council meeting. We are like right on the line of 50% on everything. It's like we couldn't have predicted this any better. The revenue's at like 50%, almost on every single line that we would expect it to be on, especially in the utilities, and expenses 50%. It's like makes it kind of easy. Take it times 2, and we'll see where we're at the end here. But
At one point when I was playing baseball, I was out in the outfield and the gentleman was hitting fly balls and throwing to home plate 1 hop. First time I was at the first base line. Second time I was at the third base line, and on the third one, I just hit it right on the nose like you're talking about these numbers. And then the gentleman took the ball and threw it up and hit it to me and said, "Do it again." So there you go. You set a good target to keep that rolling. So.
Well, it's good to see that
No, that's
where we
great.
expect it to be.
No, that's good.
And even the projection for next year is where I thought it would be last year. I'm not really seeing any. I haven't seen any surprises yet.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I was way off.
That's just why I'm saying, do it
Yeah.
again. Just keep it rolling.
Expense growth, 2026 we're operating really pretty lean. We had chosen to have a lean budget in 26 just to kind of get us back on track. Jason's doing great, keeping that right where it needs to be. So that's not surprising. And then our 40.61 expense growth is hugely related to the transfers. So everything's looking good right now with water utility performance. So our major expense drivers, some of these I've already mentioned in the water fund. We're going to transfer $300,000 to the water reserve. We're going to transfer $200,000 to the bond and interest fund to cover our projects. Let's see here, and that's a reminder. We have a water storage tank debt out there and some other water utility infrastructure debt that we have, that we talked about in the debt service, meeting. Meter part inventory, we bumped this up, a little bit, just to make sure we've got enough to operate and we had enough dollars in there. I think Nick used to always come to me, do we have any money left? Do we have any money left? And I'm like, no, we don't have any money left, it's all gone. So we tried to give Nick what he needed to do his business, so we bumped that up a little bit. Our capital equipment allocation, that's what we talked about, right? When we got started with our equipment, so it's this department's allocation. Water line replacements, $100,000, that's the continued support of our water line 5 and 5, so if we don't use it for water line 5 and 5, say we don't need it for something, we will find other water line projects to do, or we have the dollars to do that if we need to. Our McGuire maintenance contract, for $75,000, that's our annual maintenance and inspection service on water towers and water storage infrastructure. My emergency infrastructure allocation fund of $50,000. Added $30,000 for meter setters. Again, this was staff recommendation. They said they need to do their job. $20,000 available for hydrant replacement program. And then an ArcGIS mapping implementation. That is a $20,000 cost that's being divided between water and sewer. So that's some mapping, some new software that's needed to do some additional work. Any questions with those projects? So our transfers and reserve contributions, we've already talked about this, I won't talk too long. Bond and interest gets some, equipment reserve's gonna get $25,000. That's kind of to assist with computer purchases and just things overall with the city. That equipment reserve is kind of a catch-all. You get some dollars and we use it for different equipment that needs purchased. The water reserve fund, I highlighted again, 2024, we only put $25,000 over there. We were able to do 125 and 25 and then the same this year, and then again bumping that up to 300 next year. Nothing in the capital improvement fund. What's nice is our water reserve fund can do the projects. Our capital improvement doesn't need to assist it. We use those dollars for other things. I'm not lying. I'm lying to you right now. No, we are going to do one project out there. We'll talk about that in a second. Utility fund. Fund balance compliance, so this is where I said I kind of look at our transfers to see where we land on our reserve percentage and our ending fund balance and just kind of trying to figure out where we're going to be. So in the end of 2026, I project that we'll probably be about 1.7 million. That's 117% of our reserves, so you know anything over 25% is good. In 2027, that's when I increased those transfers, brought down our fund balance just a bit, down to 81%, but yet we're still sitting with the expenses that we have in here at 1.6 million. So I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about that and starting to look more like the sewer utility fund, which is really a nice fund as well. So probably in 2028, transfers out, I just capped it right now at 500,000 because I don't know what the world's going to bring us. But I'm going to adjust that probably just a tad bit more if I can to bring that down maybe closer to the 50% reserve there. So I'm just kind of trending it down that way. This is I've kind of got it in my back pocket. We've kind of mentioned it a couple of times, being able to pay off the SCADA project and not have to bond it. You know, it's out for tent note right now. It's about a $1.2 million project. I have a feeling that maybe we could take a piece of this balance, a piece of the capital reserve balance, and a piece of the sewer, just pay it off. And we wouldn't have to finance it and roll it out for 20 years. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I think November is the first call date. So we're going to talk to everybody, staff, and kind of visit probably October and see if that's something we really want to do. So if not, we've got another year or two on the tent note, so we can make that decision then. So
what did we say we could save? Was it 1 or 200,000 in interest?
100,000.
Yeah, if we pay it off.
Yeah.
have to pay it off in full, or can we pay it in chunks?
I asked that, it's probably better to do it all at once.
Okay.
There was a complicated way you could do that, but the savings
not
wasn't
worth it.
worth the
Okay.
extra work.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to round it up against the Beverly Trails projects. We're about to spend some cash down on
Yeah.
that, which you guys will see soon tonight and then again on the
Right.
next council meeting, and then maybe the AMI work if we wanna look at that.
Any questions on reserves and fund balance? Danny's waving her hand. You got a question, Dan?
No, stretching my shoulders.
Sorry.
I was staying high.
You want us to bring you another cookie?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, so our water reserve fund, let's talk about it quickly. Interest income, it has revenue sources, it gets a piece of the interest too, so we get projected to get about $7,500. It also receives some equity fees, and again, those are down, trending down, so I have to budget conservatively for that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm listening to
It's the extra page.
Let's see.
No, that's sewer.
That's sewer.
Did
Do
I
we just need to take the back page of the other one?
On the 13th page.
No, we don't have this one.
I got that one.
Well, you have it in your packet here, you do have it in this one.
It's right
Oh,
under-
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's
I
okay.
feel like a mess, I shouldn't have given.
I don't think you're a mess, I think you're pretty organized. This is nothing. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, you're good, okay. So the other revenue then obviously was our transfers that we've talked about here. Water utility reserve projects, I added this one in when Craig, when we met, this wasn't here, I added this in because it was kind of confusing what we were doing in 26 and what we plan to do in 2027. So right now, in 2026, we have these projects happening or have been completed. We've done the Everly Trails well testing and drilling for $26,972. I have an emergency allocation in this, fund for $75,000. Everly Trails transmission line for $90,000. You haven't seen that yet, but it's something that's coming, at a future council meeting, but I went ahead and budgeted for it just in case it gets approved, so.
Yeah, we're gonna bring that at the next council meeting, so a week from Monday, and then it comes with another $140,000, which is for the preliminary engineering of the well itself.
That's
So-
153, and that's gonna be in the capital improvement fund, so that's the other piece that I said, I got this all mixed up, I know.
So it'll be about 240,000 for Everly Trails, and typically, you know, you got a bit of runway, so we'd say, let's budget for that in 2027, but time's of the essence because of our purchase option with the, HOA association, so because of how healthy our funds are, we can move right into that phase. But it's to basically hire Burns and Mac to do preliminary engineering for both the well itself and then the transmission line, because we're gonna have to put in a couple miles worth of 18-inch transmission line from the well to our existing transmission line in US 54. So, we've gotta move into that quickly. I also just wanna, while this seems like a lot of money, it is, but it's relative. We acquired those water rights for about 13% of what they are worth, so, we should be very pleased with that.
And you'll see the fund balance roll forward and where we land with spending these dollars, and, you know, I feel like we're comfortable where we wanna be with this. So, yeah, the transmission line and then the Everly Trails land purchase is special, so we've already paid for the 122. So really, we have some emergency dollars left here in the transmission line that if we end up doing in 26, if it's approved, those are the things coming out of 26.
And that's for 135 million gallons of water a year.
420 acre feet.
That's a lot. I mean, that secures our water future. For a good long time. Really cool deal.
Last year we used 225 million. Our trend line actually looks like it might be a blip up, but it's been going down every year for 3 years, so but
I think it's gonna go up.
but then we had the huge rain, cause our latest data was only through May, so we'll see what happens. It is really exciting.
2027 project requests, we have a chlorine building feed pump replacement that needs to take place for $5,000. The Everly Trails second lot purchase for $60,000. Oh, that's okay.
Where is this Everly Trails?
It's near 135th and Central, I think.
13.
somewhere in that- Yeah, it's somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just some land we bought that with water rights on it.
Seems far away, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's Everly, I think, Farms 21st.
Yeah, it's south of it.
Yeah,
It's south of it.
It's that subdivision south.
Our emergency allocation for 75. So we have a ground storage tank repair for $100,000. That's something that probably has to be done. It's kind of, in fact, yeah, you wanna talk about that?
Yeah, so actually currently our ground storage tank has a very small leak. It's kind of just kind of slowly reaching out. Has been for several years, I guess. So next year, maybe next year, fixed.
This is the tank.
It's the ground storage tank.
What do you
Oh, the water.
That's the blue bathtub.
Wait,
What
was-
caused the leak? Is it rusting or something?
They have not been investigated yet. That's part of the cost. Just when you have to have an investigation.
They had drained it, right?
What's
They
that?
could drain it, though.
Yes, the hot field.
You can't do that in the middle of summer.
Well, no, I get that, I'm just wondering if it's.
It's something to do with, like I said, they have not done a full investigation on it yet to actually see what the cause is. But
Or whatever's causing it's not hurting the water.
No, it's not really water quality because water leaving the
Yeah, but I don't know
storage
what's
tank.
causing this leak might be.
It's
Like
probably
it's rusty.
something, it's dual line, so it could very easily be like a bolt or something's not latched
Seated.
together right, seated right or something of that nature. No, there's no indication that it's causing any problems with water quality.
And how long's it been leaking?
Several years from my understanding.
If you,
It's not a big leak.
No, it's like a.
the grass greenery,
It's like seeping out.
You-
It
you can
noticed
see where
some
the-
moss around it for a while.
Like just enough to like
Yeah.
notice it, not enough to risk.
If it were significant enough, we would take care of it as soon as we're
How
done.
expensive is it to have it investigated and repaired?
That's $100,000.
Okay, okay.
We spent.
That's with the investigation, I'm sorry.
How does that, sorry to get off track here, but how does that work if we're paying $75,000 a year? Shouldn't that cover some of that?
So the ground storage tank is actually separate from that, from the road tower, and it doesn't have a contract.
It's like buying insurance, it doesn't cover the thing that gets
It covers
damaged.
Well,
Well, wrong car.
Well, one of the things we had to do is we had to write to KDHE, right? That's what we
Yes.
wrote a letter to
Yeah.
stating, because they wanted to know that it was going to be fixed. And we said that it was in our budget, for 2027, and if need be, we felt comfortable that council would probably authorize it in 26 if something happened. So they have documentation that it was here. They may wanna follow up. Did they say all right, or did they say no, just to make sure that it's on our plan to do it?
How do they know that? They come out and
They
investigate?
did, they had a,
Inspection.
it was the end of last year, they came out and did a full inspection on Washington.
Okay. Just, I'm curious.
If it got worse, which it hasn't, then as soon as we got out of summer peak, we could drain it and take care of it this year, but.
Is there any chance that, with it being so small, that it does need a replacement of some sort?
The whole tank?
No, I mean,
I got
okay.
replacement.
Like worst case scenario, it's just an inspection.
But from the discussions with Dwyer, I don't, that's not even on the radar.
Okay.
All right, final item on the list is the water tower booster for $150,000.
slicing the existing thing.
Yeah, there's a booster company in place that pushes the water up to the top.
And there's
of the
two,
tower.
right, in
I
that
believe
building?
there's two.
I remember when, we grew to the point where we had to add one in. They oversized it, so there was an extra port for a new one, and we bought an extra one and put it in. Now we gotta replace the original.
Any questions on projects? Any concerns? Anything you think we need to add, take away? Are we okay with these?
Look good?
Alright, so how do all those expenses, revenues and expenses affect our water utility reserve fund? And at the end of 26, we're gonna be sitting at about $166,000, which the reserve percentage at 52, so that's okay, 'cause anything over 25%. In 2027, we'll be sitting at about 159,000. That's due to that $300,000 revenue, or revenue from the transfers coming in. And then I added going forward, hoping the revenues would increase by $25,000 a year, because surely we'll have more than that with at least transfers and maybe equity fees and those things start picking up a little bit. And then I just increased our expenses going forward about 5%, just to have a baseline to kind of see where we were. And if that keeps us at about, 30%, which is above our 25% requirement. Okay? I think we're gonna be able to put more over here, from operations, and you'll probably be seeing closer to 50%. What I project in the back of my mind, just kind of thinking how that's gonna work out, but conservatively, we're where we need to be, doing the projects that we need to do, so. I don't think any of these are really fluffy, these are pretty much critical,
Oh, I know.
infrastructure thing, so. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up water. Any questions, comments on water? No? Okay. Alright.
We like the picture for sewer. Next year.
Next year.
It would have fit with your green.
Yeah, alright. Who knows, there's one more budget,
We're gonna submit it for ourselves.
one more budget meeting to come, there should be a turtle.
But it's not over here, there's one
We'll be getting some detail for the new building.
60 something.
You can ask her, Councilman.
This is, he's jumped ahead.
Oh,
Oh, the water, I thought you were looking at this.
I was just in general wondering, okay, I'll ask you, but I didn't wanna have to, because it's just my math. Reserve policy line 25%, the actual dollar one, what is that, is that 25% of the ending fund balance?
Yes,
But it's not like in 28, cause it's 102, which is more than 25%.
you're talking about this one?
Any of them. Like that line, yeah, but as you go to the right, it's not 25% of the line above it.
He's saying 102,375 is not
Year 28.
25.
Yeah, as an example, it's much more than 25% of 157.
Is there, it's of this one,
It's
you
of
take
this.
25% of the expenses. 25% is your reserve
Oh.
percentage, so you take 25% of your operating expenses to get your reserve percentage that you need, and then you compare it to your ending fund balance, wherever, to
That's
show
Okay.
the excess
And then
over
that's
that
the-
25%.
Okay, that's the line, okay. That's what, what line you were getting 25% of?
Yeah, I have to think about how that's
I'll do it.
calculated, but yeah, the reserve percentage is based on 25% of your expenses. Then you take that number over and beyond what your balance is in your fund to make sure you can cover 6+ months of
Nice.
expenses, yeah.
That last row there, that's the amount above the reserve.
Yes,
Percentage policy.
right,
Makes sense now. Now I'll have
that's okay.
There's,
I'm sure I was putting the right lines together.
Okay. Alright, sewer utility fund, our revenue summary. So, this fund has quite a bit more in it. So its interest income is a little bit more. It's gonna earn around $55,000 in projected revenue. The mayor had asked me some questions on revenue and our interest and kind of how I project it. It's really kind of hard to project interest. So I kind of look at what we got this year, kind of look at where our balances are, hoping interest rates kind of stay the same, and then knowing that we're eating up a lot of that cash. I mean, we got, $40 million of cash in the bank for projects, but that's being used up, so obviously our cash balances go down. So I kind of look at what we did last year, make sure it makes sense, look at it as a whole. I'm estimating we're gonna get about $2 million this year in interest revenue. We're setting it like 1 million right now for 6 months, a little over 1 million. So I'm projecting another million for the second half. I think next year total interest for all funds and all departments that you see, I've only budgeted 1.3. So that's conservative. I bet we're a little bit higher than that, but, you know, if we start blowing through all our cash because we're doing all our projects, then those dollars will drop down. So kinda gotta take that into consideration. So if you're kinda wondering the method to my madness,
If it works,
It
so.
works.
You're on target on everything else.
Right, right. Tap fees, again, those are down, so again, budgeting conservatively. Sewer charges, I've increased those for about 5% growth, which is kind of what we're seeing, just kind of a trend there. So that's basically it. Revenues projected down negative 5.14%. That's due again to the tap fees, you know, that kind of drug us down. Last year we had 208, right now, you just never know, so gonna, hopefully those pick up.
I keep saying, I think Q4 of this year and Q1 of 27, tap fees are gonna be really, ascending quickly, hopefully like they were in 24, because we have like 7 projects that are one aspect of the public infrastructure work away from being shovel ready for new houses. Most of them just need paving, or for like 167 23rd, just needs sanitary sewer lift station, the Bills project. So a lot of these are like 90 to 120 days from being shovel ready. Then all the tap fees are gonna come in all at once because they're gonna be pulling building permits. So the weather and the pace of the engineering and stuff like that can really affect how those perform. But you always catch up eventually. It's all the lots that have been approved are eventually gonna come online. You're gonna get those tap fees. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Alright, expenses, personnel, again, it has the same increases as you saw in the other, it's a portion of one new employee plus just, you know, the growth and, reallocation of some other, people to this department. Actually, I should mention, I totally forgot, Tina's position used to be in the general fund, so it's coming over to, public work. Her position's coming into public works, so she's probably getting 2 new positions. I just dawned on me, it's not just one, it's 2, as well. So that was a reallocation of salaries there. Sewer administration, this houses our software, insurance, our capital equipment allocation that we've mentioned, sewer collection, this takes care of our manhole repairs, contracts with mayor, and generator contracts, for maintenance for that. Sewer treatment and processing, I didn't write down what happens in that department, but probably those sort of items. Sewer treatment and processing, go there.
Yeah, self-explanatory.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was saying.
Thank you, Corey, just for these.
Transfers, went up significantly. We're building up quite a fund balance in the sewer, utility, the operation fund, moving a bunch out. We're gonna move about $750,000 out of this fund into reserve. So, part of the 1.1 million, 380,000 of that is bond and interest fund to pay for our debt. $50,000 to our equipment reserve fund, and then $750,000 to sewer reserve fund. So this is where I got a little aggressive for once. I jumped this up in, and you'll see in another slide, but this year we're only transferring $200,000 to the reserve fund, and I'm like, let's start dragging this down just a bit and try to get some money over it, so we have plenty for our capital projects, or it'll help pay for that SCADA if we decide to do that. Our metrics, again, in 2027, the operating margins look scary, but that's because we're putting $750,000 into our reserve fund and another $50,000 into our equipment reserve fund. So our total revenue comes in at 1.9. Total expenses, including transfers, is 2.6, leaving us with a deficit of $729,000. Again, not concerned about that because our reserve percentage right now is really high, and again, I'd like to try to move that stuff out of there so we can do large projects, not in operations, but handle those items in the reserves where they belong. Some of our major expense drivers in 2027 is our sewer reserve fund transfer of $750, bond and interest fund transfer of $380. We're gonna dedicate $150,000 to manhole rehabilitation program, $105,000 for our capital equipment allocation, $71,000 for our mayor maintenance contract, $30,000 for our sludge hauling contract, and that's just, I would like you to remember that this was something that, Jason found this huge savings for us, and, we were typically paying between $70,000 and $80,000 for this, and this is something.
I would say, well, Craig is actually kind of done a lot of deep, so I can't take full credit for that, so.
What's the mayor saying? If we just don't worry about who gets the credit, we can get a lot of great things done.
Well, between you two, you worked it out. So that's significant. And then the sewers portion of the ArcGIS mapping that we mentioned in the water, so.
I'll just back up real quick. We've got under expense drivers on the water side, we got water hydrant replacements at 20. Is that enough?
A hydrant, if we replace it in-house, is about $3,500.
For the whole
For the whole
thing.
site.
Well, that's fine. I just-
Of course, we don't include labor in that, so, 20,000 should be enough to replace quite a few hydrants or repair. You can find a lot of just repairs that we can done instead of actual
Sure, no,
replacements.
that's fine.
That's something that our crew has been, fortunately, we've had Nick with that experience, and he's been training the guys on how to do that, so.
It's just something when we're going through the numbers. I know they're expensive.
There's a couple other line items we could pull from too, we overran that.
I could be out of line when I say this, so please correct me, but even in the water looping money, there's a bunch of hydrant work being done as well, so.
12 hydrants for every replacement.
Yeah.
Close there.
So. Okay, so our transfers, as I've already mentioned, $380 to the bond and interest fund, $50,000 to our equipment reserve fund, $750,000 to our sewer reserve fund. Like I said, that's a significant increase from prior year, and nothing to the capital improvement fund. So we're looking at about 1.18 million in transfers to basically cover projects into the future. So how does that look for our fund balance compliance? This is a new slide, so if you have this paper, I gave you an updated one for this one. I think your original one that I sent out, sometimes when you copy and paste from your spreadsheet to this table format, it messed me up and I didn't get them all lined up correctly, so I apologize for that.
No, I think you just need that to check and see if you have it right. We're still looking at the stuff. Just a little test.
Well, I'm glad you did, because if I would've seen it here, I would've been like, great,
I think it was one of these.
I'll go home.
500.
Yeah. Okay, so at the
Oh, I
end of
already
20,
switched it, okay, that was good. I was like, wait. No, this is the old one.
oh,
Oh, our old one matches this, not our new one. Cause our new one says 500% reserves.
Yeah, I just took out the old one.
I get that.
this one's right, so let's.
Okay,
this
those
one.
are, let's stick with the one that I had.
This one should work, so one of the versions you have,
We'll save them both.
yeah.
Yeah. Does one of yours say 500,000, 500%? 500.
No,
We'll go
Don't look at my
80.
mistake, just throw them away.
No, I'm just.
You don't have very many, so.
Oh, you were missing a million off all of the beginning, that's what it was. I don't know what it was.
All right, at the end of 2026, I project, based on our revenues and expenses, we'll be sitting at about 1.7 million. This is 103% of our required reserve, so, we're looking pretty good there. In 2027, even after our $1.1 million in transfers, we're still setting at over $1 million in this fund, leaving us at a 38% balance there. So again, I'm kind of aiming for 50%, 38 I'm okay with, just because it's way over the 25% and it's actually just transferring dollars from one sewer place to another. Moving forward, you know, we'll probably juggle that transfers out just a little bit, just to keep us at the level we want based on our revenues in and our expenses out. So again, very healthy, nothing to really be concerned about. We've got a lot of money over here to do the projects we need to do. Sewer reserve fund, again, this operates like the water reserve fund. It has revenues too, so we have a little bit of interest income over here. Our equity fees, again, we'll wait for those to pick back up, and then we receive our transfers in from our water fund, I should say, sewer fund.
When folks say the developers and builders aren't paying their fair share, that's that equity. Every time they pull a permit, they pay $1,000 for water and $1,000 for sewer.
So at the end, our total revenue is about $855,000, up 182% due to the $750,000 transfer. Okay. Our 2026 projects, I think I just got one right before we came in here for about 16,000. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to add one to this list here.
And we have one that we'll be bringing in shortly.
Okay.
How's the emergency repair for the sewer main relining that we mentioned to you guys? It's under our expenditure authority, which is why I didn't get an email.
Yeah.
So let's get fixed.
So our 2026 projects, we plant compressors that we're purchasing for $9,500. Mixer repairs, I think we've already spent $13,195. Our catwalk we've already paid for $14,500. TSS probes at $15,000. Basin pump, I don't know if we've done this yet or not. Yes, we have $22,559, or I wouldn't have such a specific dollar amount there. A sludge mixer repair, $31,320. Some GIS mapping that we allocated at the beginning of the year. It's one of our unbudgeted items I think we talked about. That's $47,000. Sewer cleaning and relining, $68,194, and our sewer 5 and 5, we've got $100,000 there. So maybe some of those stuff that's popping up could even be used there if we're not using it for the sewer 5 and 5.
That relining can be paid for out of there, and we need to find some others. That way we don't have, we're trying to catch them before they become a
Right.
emergency.
Yeah. 2027, this is what we see on the horizon, not much right now, but we plan to do that sewer master plan study for $150,000. I think you all.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that a bit. So I wanted to mention this 3 or 4 slides ago when you were seeing the fund balance building, but we're we talked about this before, but you know, we've got some pretty serious debt that matures. We may be able to pay it off early. It's on pace to be paid off in 2034, but maybe we can do it a year or 2 early and issue additional debt to build the water treatment / reuse facility. And so basically Jason and I are working with Burns and Mack and Garber, and we'll probably have PDC submit a proposal too. But next year they're gonna come in and go through our plan with a fine-tooth comb, kind of put together like a 10-year parts replacement list for us, because everything's coming up at the end of its useful life, because the plant's about 20 years old. Your gaskets and plumbing and O-rings and stuff, it just starts to wear out, you gotta replace it. So they're gonna help us figure out where to most strategically place those dollars in replacing things to extend its useful life, but also not to do any redundancies if we're going to be expanding the plant and converting it to a potable reuse treatment plant that will convert our wastewater to potable water that can go back to the community and also be softened, of course. So that's what that $150,000 is for. It's kind of that first phase of getting into that, and they'll break it up, so like give us, okay, this is what you need to do the next 3 years, the next 6 years, the next 10 years, and then that big pot when it's time to build the new plant on our current one. So we're actually starting down that path. It seems like it's forever away, but you gotta start now, and you're probably gonna spend $15 to $20 million. It's likely what something like that will cost. So there is a future in Goddard, not so far away, where we will have soft water, and where we won't have to really worry so much about our wells, because we'll just be reusing the water that we right now just send down the creek. So, which is our waste.
It's currently still, they say, is drinkable, but
I haven't seen Jason drink it yet, but yes, I've
TikTok.
And I read a quote today from City Wichita's Public Works Director. It's not toilet to tap, it's toilet to treatment to treatment to treatment to treatment to tap. So,
Maybe we just leave the toilet part out and then we don't emphasize on it.
Yes, Wichita's doing a pilot program, and so is Turkey. Pilot program for the executive.
We don't want to be getting things, so we're good.
and we were part
that
of
part
the
of us.
original group in the state of Kansas that has been working to get the regulations put in place for this to happen. And really, our friends at Valley Center kind of brought that up a couple of years ago, but we're part of the original group that
Jason's on the
to
board.
support that, and Jason's serving here now. So, when you talk about reusing water, finding extra water, the things we've done in the last 2.5 years, the connection with Rural Water District number 4. I think people will look back at this time and the things we're doing right now and really be thankful, because I think as time continues to march on, water is going to become an ever more precious resource. And we're fortunate where we can have a month where we can have 20 inches of rain, but that's not every month. And so, but I think we're moving in a great direction, and we will control our own destiny in terms of our community and our control over that process, so, as opposed to tying into Wichita, so, which seems to be and has been rejected by the community at several different times when Wichita's made overtures to us. It's been several years ago, but they didn't want to one-time purchase our fluent water for the golf course down there.
Water independence is extremely vital to our quality of life. And residential growth is of no consequence whatsoever to our water. So if you hear that in public, please correct it. And these steps that we've taken, what it really allows us to do is welcome industry that utilizes water that can bring hundreds of jobs to our community, which will perpetuate our quality of life, which is obviously very important. So it's an exciting time. 500 million gallons plus is what we have rights to pump out. We're not even at 50% of that. And when you have, that doesn't factor in the reuse at that point. We just can't even see the end of the trend line. So we're in a stark different place than we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
This is your offshoot.
Yeah.
That's why we were confused. You didn't hear anything wrong.
This is the final.
Alright, sewer utility reserve fund, fund balance compliance projection. So, you can see our revenues coming in, $855. And our expenses that we project about $400,000 leaves us in our reserve fund at about $1.2 million. So back at the sewer utility fund, we were sitting at about 1 point something million. So I mean, you're looking at over $2 million sitting, together, in the sewer utility funds. Again, we'll probably have plenty of money to maybe tackle some debt. Again, we're way above the 25% here. So we're gonna be able to pay off debt and put those dollars to work on projects that we wanna do, so, okay. Any questions on sewer? On stormwater, it's pretty quick. So as a reminder, stormwater utility only got started December of 2024, so it doesn't have a whole lot of history and not a whole lot of action that's happened here just yet. We're just kind of building up a fund balance and just deciding, you know, when we see a need, we'll put it on the schedule and use dollars from this fund to handle it. So, our stormwater revenues are projected, this slide's silly, I don't know why I put this one in here, it doesn't match any of the other stuff, but we'll use it anyway.
I was gonna point that out, but I'm glad you did, yeah.